If you want to learn how to speak English fluently, then I have a method that nobody is probably teaching you right now. Now, unfortunately, formal education and most English courses teach the same thing, which is teaching you how to study English by using grammar rules, vocabulary, and stuff like that. And unfortunately, again, millions of people, probably most people across the world, at some point in their lives have experienced formal education when it comes to language learning for languages such as English. The methods being taught in school to learn English are designed for tests, but it's not designed for speaking and interacting with real life native English speakers like myself in real life scenarios. And this is, of course, why you need to take a totally different approach to actually learning English and, more importantly, using English if you want to be able to communicate naturally and spontaneously. And that's what I'll show you in this video. Now, first of all, it's important that you understand why traditional methods in formal education just do not work. Traditional learning simply doesn't work. It hasn't worked for you if you're watching this video, and it hasn't worked for most other people, so it's normal. And that is because it's declarative teaching. It's teaching you how to study English. It's not teaching you how to actually apply your English skills, or I should say, how to apply your English skills in more meaningful ways in the real world. If you currently know more than one language fluently, then you've probably found out by now you can't really study yourself to fluency. You have to actually get out there and start using your skills to get better and get to that next level of fluency. And for most people who are learning English, they're usually stuck at a level where they can understand English really, really well because it's so easy to consume because it's ubiquitous, it's everywhere. However, they struggle to speak confidently, speak assertively, and they're still speaking broken English. The thing about speaking in English and actually using your English is that it takes procedural knowledge. It takes the knowledge of knowing how to use English in impromptu situations or in random, spontaneous situations. It does not require knowledge of knowing a grammar rule or knowing the definition of a specific word. And this leads to my second point, which is you need to understand how the brain actually works when it comes to speaking in a foreign language. And unfortunately, this is ignored way too much, but speaking is actually as much of a physical skill as it is a mental skill. Speaking is a motor skill. Speaking is built off of repetition of physical output, physically training your mouth to speak. It's not built on input repetitions of just consuming a ton of English media and hoping that it just washes over and makes you fluent. Unfortunately, it's not that easy, and that's not how it works. If it were that easy, all of you guys watching this video would probably be speaking English very confidently right now. You need to train your brain to think in English and spontaneously react or spontaneously respond to knowledge that you receive in the English language. Now, there are a few key ways that you need to train your brain to think in English. Namely, the most important one is visualization, which simply just means you should try to associate words and phrases in English with imagery or experiences that you've physically gone through in English. For example, instead of translating the word phone into your native language, you should actually picture a phone in your head instead of translating it directly back to your native language. If there is an expression that you use or hear a lot in English, you should think back to an experience that you had in real life when you used that expression or heard that expression. That's going to be much more memorable, and that's going to help train your brain to actually think in English and just avoid translating words back into your native language. Especially if you're at the intermediate levels of English, you need to get out of the habit of translating words back into your head, because this will be the difference in terms of how fast you can learn how to speak English more fluently and confidently versus speaking broken English. Practicing your English communication is simply just like a sport. It's going to be very unnatural at first, but then once you practice enough times or if you practice long enough, you're going to naturally become better and better and better at it. And there is pretty much no limit to how good you can get at a sport, just like there is no limit to how good you can become at speaking and articulating yourself in English. And this leads to the third point, which is you need to profoundly understand the differences between studying and actually training. Studying is just a passive engagement with English, which is just reading, listening, watching something on a TV, etc. Whereas training, on the other hand, is an active engagement in English. When you're training your English, you're actually producing sentences, you're simulating real conversations, or you're actually answering people in English under pressure in spontaneous interactions in the real world. By doing less studying and more training, this is what's going to get you to the next level of English speaking. If you're someone who can understand English very well, but you still kind of speak broken English, or you just can't really speak English with any confidence because you feel underprepared or you feel like you're missing something when you come into those real life conversations. And the truth is, most of you watching and just most English learners in general spend the vast majority of their time studying English and then they just spend a little bit of time training English. And the reason for this is usually because training your English and actually physically using it and applying it feels unnatural and it feels a little bit uncomfortable at first. But again, it's absolutely necessary to do. And even though it feels a little bit uncomfortable in the beginning, it is still very simple to do. And you can do it by yourself. You don't necessarily need other people to do this. And this leads to my fourth point, which is the actual method that you've probably never been taught before. And this really comes down to comprehensible output. Now, most of you are familiar with comprehensible input, which is just listening to English media that's just slightly above your current level of English. Now, for comprehensible output, you want to be able to articulate yourself and speak English at a level that's slightly higher than your current level of English. If you're watching this, you're probably at one of the intermediate levels of English, and you're probably familiar with basic English terms, and you're probably very comfortable with saying them. You want to get more comfortable with saying things or articulating things in a fashion that you are not currently that comfortable with. And this is going to make you much better when you come into real life interactions. And another huge part of comprehensible output is chunk based speaking, which just means you should be focusing more on patterns and less on learning what individual words mean. And this is something that's almost impossible to learn through formal education at school. And the reason for this is because English is a language that's constantly evolving and constantly has many different dialects and many different styles of communication. So, if you want to learn phrases and patterns for how native English speakers speak and interact, then consuming lots of English media can help. Still, this is something that you're really going to have to learn based on your experience and specifically where in the world you actually live or which English speakers in the world that you actually interact with. Because, of course, people in London, England are going to speak English much differently than people in Houston, Texas, in the United States of America. Spaced repetition and having conversations with yourself are also very important skills as well when it comes to actually enhancing and training your speaking skills in English. However, we don't really have time to go over it in this video, but if you'd like to learn more, I create a free training going into deep detail on everything you need to go from the intermediate level to the advanced levels of English. So if you want to check that out, I'll leave the link somewhere in the pinned comment or the description below. And for my final point, how are you going to actually practice this consistently on a daily basis so you can transform your English speaking abilities? Now, there are three different ways that you can easily do this with 5, 10, or 15 minutes per day. Now, the first way you can easily do this is just narrate what you're currently doing. So if you're by yourself and maybe you're cooking something in your kitchen, just announce all the actions you're doing and just narrate what you are doing. And the key thing is you cannot be talking in your head. You need to physically say out loud what you are doing. Like, for example, I'm recording this video and I'm speaking into this microphone. I just grabbed my phone and I just put it down. I just took my water bottle and I'm going to take a sip out of it. You need to physically train your mouth to actually express what you are doing. That's the only way it will work. That's the only way you will actually make progress with your speaking skills in English. Second way is just to ask yourself open ended questions. It could just be as simple as, how was your day and how did it make you feel? Or how was yesterday and how did yesterday make you feel? And then you can just express your answer as if you were talking to a real person. Just practice expressing your thoughts spontaneously without preparing anything. You really should be doing this drill every single day because you need to actually train your brain to psychologically be able to answer questions on the spot spontaneously. And the best way to do this is just by asking yourself open ended questions that you will realistically be asked if you come into real conversations with real native English speakers in real life. And the last method you should be using every day, which is really easy to do and the most practical, is just to watch a video. It could be a short form video or a long form video, you can pick. And then after you watch the video, just ask yourself what your opinion was about what was said in the video. Did you agree with what was said? Did you disagree with what was said? Did you have some other sort of opinion on what was said? Just express your opinion as if somebody is actually asking you for your opinion on the video. Similar to the last drill, this is going to train your brain to answer things spontaneously with the first things that come to mind. Just training you to be an impromptu speaker who can have conversations and can express things spontaneously anywhere at any time. This is how you become an advanced English speaker. These are the methods that formal education probably isn't teaching you right now, or that most people probably are not teaching you right now. If you're at intermediate levels of English, you've already learned the basics of grammar. You already have a decent vocabulary. You can already understand most, if not everything that I'm saying in this video. The problem is you guys don't train your application skills enough, so you speak broken English, or you're just not even confident enough at all to really speak English in real situations. And by doing these exercises, this is what's going to take you to the next level finally to make you an advanced English speaker. You just need to do it consistently and you need to do it over time, and you will see the results. So if you got any value from this video, be sure to like the video. It helps us more than you know. And leave a comment down below telling me where you're from and what your native language is. I'm always very curious to know. And I'll see you in the next one.